Christian Iberian invasions. During the late catastrophe, the Portuguese again tried to take advantage of the situation. In 1465, they had already captured Sarsoler, a small fortified town as indicated by its name, which was between Ceuta and Tangier. This was then followed by the destruction and the razing of Enfa in 1468. They then proceeded to launch an attack on Alcela in 1471, which they successfully conquered. And they even took Abu Abdullah Muhammad al-Sheikh, then the governor of Alcela, two wives, daughter, and son. When Abu Abdullah Muhammad al-Sheikh heard the news when he hadn't taken Fez from the Juti Idrisidiyya, he rode back to Alcela to negotiate with the Portuguese. He was able to strike a 22-year-long truce and was able to get his wives and daughter back, only leaving his son Muhammad as hostage, who would succeed him and would become known as El Portugali or El Portugali, meaning the Portuguese, as he would remain for a few more years as a hostage to the Portuguese. Though there was a truce, this didn't mean the Portuguese would stop taking cities along the Moroccan coast, as immediately after the truce in the same year of 1471 they took Tangier and obtained allegiance from Safi in 1488. Then, in 1497, the Spanish took Melilla, which they still hold to this day. That was after their recent conquest of Granada in 1492, which led many Muslims to leave and the Jews to be expelled. Many of both landed in Fez and northern cities. The Portuguese then built Mazagan in 1502, which is now known as El Jadida, after Morocco's taking of it. The Portuguese then took Agadir in 1505, which they named Santa Cruz do Cabo do Gay, and that was followed by Mogador in 1506, now known as Essaouira, and then Azamur in 1513. By this point, they had gained a great hold and influence over large chunks of Moroccan territory, including the provinces of Shawiya, Dukala, and Haha, as well as several other key ports. It was once that the Muslim Marinids and Nasserids of Granada held Iberia, as well as the dynasties before them, but now the Iberian Christians have reverted upon Morocco and took large chunks of it after already completing the Reconquista of Al-Andalus. The invasion got so bad to the extent that Nuno Fernandes de Ataide, the Portuguese captain of Safi, in 1515, after raising support from the tribes of Ducala, most prominently the leader Yahya ibn Ta'fuf, was able to reach the great city of Marrakesh and conducted an unsuccessful raid on the city held by the independent Hintata Emir or Prince Nasr Abu Shantuf. Sadian rise. In the region of Sousse, as the people were displeased with the lack of authority of the Wattacid governments in Fez and the European holdings along the coast, including Santa Cruz, which was on the coast of Sousse, they banded together and chose the Sadian Sharif Abu Abdullah al-Qa'im from Tagmadart in Dur'a as the ruler, as he was a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and based themselves in Tidsi and later Afughal. They fought against the Portuguese, led by Nuno de Ataide and Yahya bin Ta'fuf in Tednes in 1513, though it was an unsuccessful loss for the Sadians, with the city of Tednes being razed after being emptied of its inhabitants, who would move to Marrakesh, which itself would be unsuccessfully raided by the Portuguese as mentioned previously. But despite that loss, the Sadians were able to conquer much of Morocco really quickly. Under Al-Qa'im's successor, Ahmed al-A'raj, they took Marrakesh in 1525 from the Hintata, making it the new permanent capital after Afughal. This conquest was followed by an encounter in Enime between Marrakesh and Tedla with the Wattasids, who after a stalemate in battle signed the Treaty of Tedla in 1527, on which the Sadians were to hold the provinces of Sousse and Marrakesh, and the Wattasids the region of Fez and the rest of the Far Maghreb. The Sadians continued to kick the Portuguese out of Morocco, taking Agadir in 1541, which prompted the Portuguese to abandon Safi and Azamur too. The Sadians now had gained the strength to combat the Wattasids and take Fez itself. Ottoman arrival. The Ottomans were on a massive rise between the 15th and 16th centuries, and they had proclaimed themselves as the caliphs of the Islamic world and Muslim nation after the Abbasids when defeating the Mamluks in 1517, thus conquering the Levant, Egypt, and most importantly, the two sacred cities of Mecca and Medina and Hijaz. And similarly to how the Portuguese were capturing cities off the shore in the far Maghreb, the Spanish were similarly to gain ground in the central Maghreb in Africa. The Spanish, after taking Melilla in 1497, took Casata right by it in 1505, and in the same year, Marsal Kabir. Then the Peñón de Vélez de la Gomera was taken in 1508. Then just east of Marsal Kabir, Oran, which was taken in 1509. Then they took Bajaya, the Peñón of Algiers, which were some small rocky islands outside of Algiers, though failing to take the actual city of Algiers itself, and Tripoli were all taken in 1510. The local inhabitants of some cities called for help from the Barbarossa brothers, Hirudin Barbarossa and Aruj Barbarossa, who were a group of corsairs in the service of the Ottoman Sultan from Mytilene, an island off the coast of Anatolia. They were able to remove the Genoese from Jijel in 1514, and the citizens declared Aruj as Sultan of Jijel. Then they moved in to conquer Algiers in 1516, as requested by its inhabitants, and Aruj was again declared Sultan of Algiers. There were already the Zayanids, who held the kingdom of Tlemcen in the central Maghreb, who were at war with the Spanish and lost Oran, and even swore fidelity to the Spanish in 1512. So Aruj moved into the city of Tlemcen to try to take it in 1517, which he did. But it was quickly lost to the Spanish-backed Zayanids. The Spanish would continue to try to strengthen their grip over Tlemcen, sending a few expeditions to replace the Zaynid ruler, like in 1535, which was unsuccessful, or in 1543, which only lasted for a few months before the Zaynids returned. But eventually it fell under Ottoman influence, who reinstalled the Zaynids in 1545 after the Spanish allied Banu Rashid tribe installed a puppet that lasted for only a month, though it was briefly taken by the Saadians in 1550 after deposing the Wattasids, but it was quickly recaptured by the Ottomans in 1551.